What's going on, everybody? In this video, I've got a clip to show you from CleanSpark. I also want to talk about a Bitcoin mining ETF that gives you exposure to the general space. And instead of wrecking your brain trying to figure out what's the best miner to get in or trying to pick and choose your miners, you can go into this ETF that gives you exposure across the board. And we're going to go over a couple other things too, so let's get started on this video. If you guys like these videos, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and let's start off with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still holding its trend so far. Keep an eye on this ascending line. This is something we're watching here. If we see a break, it's likely we get into the 30,000s. But so far, Bitcoin is holding up its ascending support. We are finding trouble getting back over our 50 MA, so we may see some pullback from here. One thing I also wanted to mention is we did see our golden cross on our weekly, which is the first time we've seen that. However, back in February 2023 was also the first time we saw a death cross. You can see in previous cycles, Bitcoin didn't get drastically below its 200 MA. It typically found support at the 200 MA. Anytime it went under the 200 MA was a great buying opportunity looking back. And so far it turned out to be the same in this cycle. While this was under the 200 MA, it was a great buying opportunity. However, because it dropped so much and it was under the 200 MA for so long, we had such a long bear market, we did end up flashing a death cross, and recently we saw our golden cross on the weekly. And another thing about the weekly is we are still near overbought. We aren't at overbought, but we're definitely more overbought than we are neutral. So we may be due for some retracement. Bitcoin may be due to cool down a bit from here. And I do believe, looking in the future, this will play out to be a great buying opportunity if we do get under the 40,000s again. And next up, I want to talk about a Bitcoin mining ETF. If you want exposure to the Bitcoin mining industry in general, if you don't want to have to pick and choose your stocks, you could always get into an ETF like this one. And the ticker symbol here is WGMI. And they don't only hold Bitcoin miners, they also hold stocks like AMD, GPU related stocks. And you'll notice that their largest positions are a lot of the miners that we talk about, a lot of the miners that I like. We have TeraWulf, Bitfarms, Iris Energy, CleanSpark. We also have other names I don't talk about as often, Argo Blockchain, Cypher Mining. We have Bit Digital here. It is for the most part Bitcoin miners, but we also have stocks like Nvidia, Taiwan Semiconductor, AMD, Samsung. I do think this is a good way to get some exposure to the Bitcoin mining industry with as little work needed. If you believe the Bitcoin miners in general are going to go up in 2024 and 2025, I think this is a great way to go. Just DCA into this over time and not have to get tripped over which miner's the best, which miner should I get into. Well, this gives you exposure to pretty much all of them. And you can see in general, this ETF has been gaining in price. And with our recent drop 43% down, I think now is a great time to consider looking at this. I also want to feature this clip about immersion cooling from CleanSpark.
Hi, my name is Taylor Monig, SVP of Mining over at CleanSpark. Today we're going to be teaching you guys about immersion cooling and how it benefits what we do here at CleanSpark. Immersion cooling is one of the most efficient ways to cool high-performance computers. It helps extend the life of the machine while also reducing e-waste. Immersion cooling is the act of removing heat from a heat-generating electronic component by submerging it in fluid. There are two types of immersion cooling, single-phase and two-phase immersion. CleanSpark currently operates 20 megawatts of single-phase open bath immersion cooling in Norcross, Georgia. Bitcoin mining machines go through a special process to get them ready for immersion cooling. We remove the fans so the liquid can flow unimpeded through the machine reliably, eliminating most of the operating noise and failure points within the device. The machines are then strategically placed into specialized tanks. In CleanSpark's case, the miners are submerged in a single-phase hydrocarbon oil. This oil is non-corrosive, non-flammable, and ozone safe. We use a dual loop system in which the oil remains in the tank and makes contact with water inside of a plate exchanger underneath the tank. The water therefore runs out to a dry cooler, expelling the heat into the atmosphere. The cooling process takes place in a large dry cooler on the mining campus. This allows CleanSpark to use less oil and remove the heat at the tank level. The oil maintains an even temperature of around 104 degrees Fahrenheit while protecting the machines from dust and temperature fluctuations. Depending on the environment, the liquid has a usable life of 5 to 7 years. Immersion cooling is one of the most efficient cooling methods that exists. Paired with specialized software, it allows us to increase the output of the machine by upwards of 85%. The result, we can use fewer machines while still maintaining our output. In other words, we can produce more Bitcoin with fewer resources. Immersion cooling also reduces e-waste. CleanSpark's efforts in immersion cooling reduces e-waste by as much as 80%. According to our internal estimates, because it allows us to extend the life of our machines and reuse the removed fans as replacement parts at our air-cooled sites.
we should continue to see them converting their fleet to immersion cooling. It'll make them even more efficient. And next, I want to talk about this article. I'll leave it down below for you. And Bernstein says, buy the dip in Bitcoin mining stocks ahead of Bitcoin price inflection, saying that they prefer outperform rated stocks like Riot and CleanSpark. And they say that this underperformance might provide a window for investors looking for an opportunity to buy into the mining stocks. And while they believe there may be further weakness for Bitcoin, with a potential short-term bottom in the 38 to 42,000 range, investors should still be structurally long ahead of the next halving in April. And in a separate note today, Bernstein reiterated its bullish call on the miners, recommending achieving Bitcoin exposure via these Bitcoin miners that offer a higher beta than Bitcoin, driven by EBITDA expansion and market multiple growth going into the bull cycle. As for CleanSpark, we're still watching for that $7 level. I do think that'll be a bouncing off point. And looking at the RSI, we are getting towards oversold, not there yet. And you'll see, looking back, any time this was near oversold turned out to be a great opportunity for at least a swing trade, if not a good entry point to be along. I think if we do get to oversold, it'll be a great buying opportunity, just as it has been. And that is if we get to oversold. But I could definitely see us bouncing at the psychological 7. I do think looking long term, it's a great time to get into CleanSpark. Now you guys might be wondering what this yellow circle up here is. This is where CleanSpark needed to go by the 19th of January in order for me to sell my shares for every covered call that I sold. And just like when we get to oversold and it's a great buying opportunity or a great opportunity to sell some puts to potentially acquire more shares even cheaper, when we get to these overbought points on the RSI like here, usually it's the time to either take some profits or consider selling some covered calls. As the market fluctuates, we get to points of overbought and oversold. And while it's great to be net long on the miners like CleanSpark, it's not a bad idea to either trim or sell covered calls when we get vastly overbought, just like it's not a bad idea to either sell puts or be a buyer when we get vastly oversold. It doesn't hurt to play the cycles of the market at times, but let me know what you guys are doing with CleanSpark. Are you selling cash secured puts at this point? Are you simply a buyer, or are you still holding back? Thanks as always for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about the Valkyrie Bitcoin mining ETF. I think that could be a great way to gain some exposure to the Bitcoin miners in general without having to put too much thought into it. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.